The Premier League has a problem. And it's not Pep Guardiola. It's not Erling Haaland either. It's two names, Bukayo Saka and Gyökeres. One is already tearing up the league. The other, he might just be the final weapon. Arsenal needs to take over everything. But how good is this duo? Well, you won't know if you don't watch the video to the end. Arsenal didn't bottle last season. They were right there. 1 or 2 wins, 1 or 2 goals. One moment here or there, and the title would have been heading to the Emirates. They pushed Liverpool to the very last day, and for the first time in years, it felt like the power dynamic in English football was starting to shift. And they did it by building something solid. Not flashy, not desperate, but balanced. Their defense was one of the best in Europe. William, Saliba and Gabriel formed a wall at the back. Declan Rice slotted in like he'd been there forever. And even when their attack stalled at times, it was that defensive structure that kept them alive. What saved Arsenal wasn't a 30-goal striker. It was the clean sheets, the control, the ability to grind out results when the goals dried up. Arteta built a team that could compete with City, not just stylistically, but structurally. They weren't chasing games anymore, they were dictating them. But here's the thing, Arteta doesn't want almost anymore. He's not interested in being second best. And this season, he's going for total control. Total domination. That brings us to the new duo he's building around. And we have to start with the one who's already a Premier League nightmare, Bukayo Saka.
Deal or no deal? You win the league this year, but Saka goes in the summer.
That's a mad question, bro.
Ooh, wait, to win the league or they sell me?
Saka ain't going nowhere, bro. Never. That's not worth it.
Saka has been Arsenal's most consistent player for the last 3 seasons. Every big moment, every tough match, he shows up. He's become the face of the team. And even more than that, he's become one of the best right wingers in Europe. He's earned respect from legends like Thierry Henry.
Forget the penalty, forget the goal, which are, by the way, outstanding, and I know the feeling of scoring there. But it's what you do off the ball that impresses me the most. Is just outstanding what you do. Not only you, Martinelli also. So only for that's you can try to chip the ball next time again. Well done.
I'll try again one day.
And current players talk about him like he's already elite, because he is.
Everyone loves him.
How happy were you to have him back for your game personally, and also with that reception? It was such a great moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was buzzing, for him, for the team, for myself, for the supporters. Everyone loves him, and I think you could really see that and feel that on that day when he came back. Yeah, the stadium was so loud, and yeah, it was amazing, to see that. And then he comes back, he scores straight away. So I think he just shows the level he's at the moment. He's massive player, and yeah, so key to everything we do. So great to have him back.
What makes Saka different isn't just the stats; it's the level of performance every single week. You know what you're getting from him. Direct play, composure, work rate, and the ability to unlock a defense from nothing. And yet, last season, even with signs of fatigue and burnout, he still delivered 12 goals and 14 assists in the Premier League. That's 26 goal contributions in a season where people said he wasn't even at his best. But here's the problem. Arsenal are over-reliant on him. He played over 35 league games again, with almost no rotation. Opponents started doubling him constantly, and left-backs focused entirely on shutting him down. He handled it well, but it took its toll. When all of Arsenal's creativity and attacking threat runs through one flank, Saka's flank, it becomes predictable. And worse, it becomes exhausting for him. The left side hasn't offered enough threat, which means the burden always falls back on him. That's where the imbalance lies. That's why teams prepare just to stop him. And that's exactly why Arsenal need to build better support around him, not just rotating him, but reduce his workload by fixing the other side of the pitch. Which brings us to what Arsenal need: a mirror version of Saka on the left. A player who can match his output, stretch defenses, and make teams fear both wings. When you look at top teams across Europe, they have balance. Real Madrid has Vinicius and Rodrigo. City spreads threat across all zones. Arsenal doesn't have that yet. Martinelli is explosive, yeah. Trossard brings moments, but neither consistently offers what Saka does. That's the problem.
When he's bad, he's so stinky, and no one says anything because Arsenal are performing so well. He looks like Damari Gray and Anthony Gordon. Like, I'm sorry.
Do you think that that's like partly due to his youth?
Because those three players, Damari Gray, Anthony Gordon, and Martinelli, are all so direct. When they're on, they look amazing, but when they're off, they look horrendous.
If Arsenal brings in someone like Eberechi Eze, a player who can isolate defenders, beat his man, and create from nothing, that changes everything. Now the left side becomes just as dangerous as the right. Teams can't overload Saka's flank because there's a real threat on the other end.
For me, it's not so much about positions now. I'm looking at it through a different lens. I'm saying, what skill sets do this Arsenal team need that they don't have? I want dribblers, I want people that play off the cuff, I want people that are spontaneous in the final third, and I want people who drift and roam, because I think Arsenal at times are too structured. Structures are for defending, in my opinion. That's how I look at football. And I think you need players that will go out there and be unpredictable, and Eze is that. I think he's really come on in the last...
That means Saka finally gets one-on-one situations again.
Bukayo Saka! Wow. Leaves his calling card for the new season.
And when that happens, he's unstoppable. Look back at the 2022-23 season. He hit 25 plus goal contributions, not just because of form, but because he had space, rhythm, and rest. Arsenal exited Europe early, so the load was lighter. Tactically, there was more support, and it showed. Replicate that structure, give him a true left-sided threat, and add real rotation with someone like Madueke. Now Saka doesn't have to drag Arsenal forward alone, but to fully take the pressure off Saka, Arsenal can't stop at the wings. They need a striker who can stretch defenses, hold up play, and take some of the created weight off him too. That's where the second half of this new duo comes in, Victor Gyökeres. Victor Gyökeres isn't just another striker with hype. He's coming off a season where he scored 39 goals and 7 assists, and 2 seasons ago, where he scored 29 league goals and provided 10 assists in just 33 games for Sporting. That's 39 direct goal contributions. Numbers that speak for themselves, and they're not inflated by penalties or stat padding against weak sides. He's doing this in a structured system, in a league that produces top-level defenders. What sets Gyökeres apart is his profile. He's physically dominant, but he's not just about strength. He carries the ball with control, he presses relentlessly, and he knows how to link up in tight spaces. He's not the type to wait for service. He creates chances himself, something Arsenal's attackers lacked in the number 9 position. You look at Jesus. He's technical, intelligent, and he works hard, but he's not a natural finisher. Havertz improved late in the season, but he's not a consistent threat in behind. Gyökeres is different. He stretches defenses, pins centre-backs, and opens up space for players like Saka to run into. That's the key here. Bringing in Gyökeres doesn't just solve the striker issue, it directly impacts Saka's game. If defenders have to deal with a striker constantly dragging them wide or deep, they can't double up on Saka the way they used to. That gives him more room to operate, and when Saka has time and space, he punishes teams. But the real question is, can Gyökeres do it in the Premier League? Because the track record from the Portuguese league isn't exactly convincing. Whenever a striker comes out of Portugal with big numbers, there's always skepticism, and for good reason. The league has produced some major names, but it's also seen a lot of hype fall flat in the Premier League. Darwin Núñez is the most recent example. He scored 26 goals in 28 games for Benfica before moving to Liverpool, but in his first season in England, he managed just 9 league goals. João Felix came with a big reputation too, but he's yet to justify it. Even looking further back, you have players like Bas Dost or Jackson Martinez, who lit up the Liga Portugal, but never made the leap to a bigger league. So naturally the question becomes, is Gyökeres just another name on that list? But here's what makes this different. Gyökeres isn't just about goals. His all-around play is already built for a higher level. He doesn't rely on open space or defensive mistakes to score. He creates his openings, holds up play under pressure, and brings others into the game. Unlike Darwin, his numbers haven't come out of nowhere. This isn't a one-season spike. He showed consistency in the Championship with Coventry and has now carried that into Europe. More importantly, Gyökeres isn't just a poacher. He's tactically flexible. He can play with his back to goal, run into channels, or drop deeper to link play. That makes him harder to isolate or mark out of games. And in a system like Arteta's, that versatility matters. Still, potential doesn't mean anything without execution, especially in a league as demanding as the Premier League. If there's one thing that makes the Gyökeres signing special, it's not just the goals, it's the fit. This isn't about adding a random striker with big numbers, it's about plugging in a forward who fixes multiple tactical gaps in Arsenal's current system. Because let's be honest, for all their control, Arsenal still lacked a certain type of presence up front last season. Gabriel Jesus gave them clever link-up play. Havertz added late-season goals, but neither gave Arteta a constant, direct threat behind the line. That's where Victor Gyökeres steps in. He's a hybrid. He combines the strength of a traditional target man with the movement of a modern forward. His runs into the channels are aggressive and well-timed. He offers width. He provides an outball when playing out from the back, and most importantly, he attacks space. He doesn't just wait for chances to arrive, he creates them. Last season at Sporting, Gyökeres had more goal-creating actions following a dribble than any player in the Portuguese league. He isn't just finishing plays, he's initiating them. He thrives in moments where he can isolate defenders, beat them, and either go for goal or set up teammates. That's key because Arsenal do face teams that sit deep, low blocks, packed midfields, compressed back fours. And yes, those situations might not be perfect for a striker who prefers space, but Arsenal have the tools to manipulate these defensive shapes. Arteta's short passing sequences, rotational triangles, and positional overloads pull teams out, and that's when Gyökeres becomes lethal. Take Arsenal's typical right-sided build-up. Ødegaard drops deep, Saka stretches wide, White tucks in, and Rice offers the vertical progression. Now insert Gyökeres. Instead of playing into feet and holding the ball for too long, something Jesus tends to do, Gyökeres spins off defenders and runs. He demands the pass in behind. This is where players like Ødegaard shine. We've seen it before. Quick 1-2 combinations and threaded balls into the right channel. Now imagine those same moves, but with a forward who has both the pace and the strength to burst past a centre-back and finish with either foot. There's a perfect example of this in the goal he scored against Estoril. Sporting played out from the back, pulled the opponent forward, then hit a diagonal through ball to release Gyökeres into space. He sprinted past the defender and buried it. It was clean, sharp, and decisive, and it looks exactly like something Arsenal could replicate at the Emirates. But the versatility doesn't end there. He can help Arsenal go direct in some games. Arsenal played the fewest long passes in the Premier League last season. That speaks to Arteta's obsession with control. But sometimes control slows things down. Against aggressive mid-blocks or intense pressing teams like Liverpool or Brighton, Arsenal struggled to escape pressure. That's where Gyökeres becomes essential. You don't sign a player with this profile and still play as if you have no striker up top. You don't buy a Ferrari to drive it like a Fiat, as Latam would say. Arsenal need to adapt, just a bit. A few more direct passes from Timber, White, or even Raya could completely transform the rhythm of their attack. Watch Gyökeres' goal against Boavista. He drops deep, receives under pressure, quickly releases it, and immediately spins off to receive the final ball. It's the up-back-through pattern Arsenal already uses, just with more aggression. You add that to Arteta's system and suddenly, the build-up becomes far less predictable. He can also help them defend a lead. You see, last season Arsenal dropped 21 points from winning positions. That's the 7th most in the league, and it wasn't because they couldn't defend. It was because they didn't have a way to control games in transition after taking the lead. If Arsenal are 1-0 up, Rice drops into a mid-block. Ødegaard and Gyökeres lead the first line of pressure, and Saka and Martinelli tuck in to protect the half spaces. Then the ball breaks, and suddenly Gyökeres is off. No hesitation, no wasted movement, he sprints behind the backline and finishes the counter. He scored more fast break goals than any player in Portugal last season. And if Arsenal lean into that when needed, especially in tight away games, they'll become far more efficient at killing off matches. He's not just someone who helps you win, he's someone who helps you stay ahead. As well as that, he can also create space for others. The presence of a striker like Gyökeres changes how defenders behave. After a few games, teams will start doubling up on him in transition. Midfielders will sit deeper, centre-backs will avoid stepping out too early, and that's where the real damage starts. Because when defenders are occupied with Gyökeres, they can't fixate on Saka anymore. We've seen it time and time again. Saka gets doubled up on or marked out of games because no one fears what's happening centrally. Now, that changes. If Gyökeres occupies the two centre-backs and Ødegaard or Rice push into space, Saka is left one-on-one again. And when Saka is one-on-one, he wins every time. There's even more synergy. Trincao, the player who assisted Gyökeres most often at Sporting, is a left-footed, technical wide player who creates after dribbling. Sound familiar? That's Saka. If Gyökeres could build that connection with Trincao in a year, there's no reason he won't build something even more deadly with a player like Saka, who is far more decisive and complete. This isn't just about adding a goal scorer, it's about unlocking everything around him. Gyökeres gives Arsenal a new dimension, more power, more unpredictability, more threat, and most importantly, he allows Saka to finally play in his natural rhythm again, with space, support and freedom. And now that we've looked at how the duo fits tactically, what happens when they both click at the same time? Well, that's gonna be crazy. If Arsenal can get Bukayo Saka and Victor Gyökeres firing at the same time, everything changes. Not just for Arsenal, but for the entire Premier League. We've already seen what peak Saka looks like. In 2022-23, with better rotation, less fatigue, and fewer teams doubling up on him, he delivered 25+ goal contributions. And now with the king of goals, then boom, we have a title-winning side. But do you think this duo can finally win Arsenal the Premier League? Well, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out our last video on Arteta copying Pep's style to win the league. Thank you.